librarians do. 2, the best database, at least the one I would start with for this assignment. 3, another source for IEEE stuff. And 4, how to contact us. So what we do is we help people find information. A lot of times you're good on your own, you're going to find what you need. Other times, like you're looking for a specific case study, statistics, or in this case, various types of information about an organization, a company, or maybe you're wanting to select a company. And then the question is, well, is there enough information out there? Can I go with this company? We can assist with that because sometimes it's frustrating. Information is multifaceted, and as well as it is organized, it's not exactly easy in some situations to find what the heck you're looking for. So that's why we're here. So let me bring up our library page real quick. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. So if you're going in through Indiana Tech, for now anyway, at the bottom left is a link for MacMillan Library. And almost everything you need is in this dark, I don't know, magenta sort of color, quick links. But let me show you here. Oh, if this pops up, we'll get to this shortly. This is a chat with a live person. Under About Us, and then the staff, you can see besides me, there's Janet, Alina, Brett, and Rebecca. And certainly the 4 of us on top went to graduate school to learn how to search databases and assist people with navigating the information landscape. So if you get any one of us, which could be via the chat, you'll be in good shape. You could also email us directly. You'll see various things here under services. There's forms to fill out, which go to all of our emails. And we'll see, well, why would you want to do that? And so going back to the quick links, what you want to keep in mind, so we've got, let me make it bigger, databases for the most part. So the virtual library is more what we have really than before, because so many of our programs are online, most of our books are ebooks, and pretty much all journals and newspapers and magazines are e-resources at this point. So databases, it's content that we're licensing. And so if you were to search Google, you're not going to get into the same things. You'll be denied access to whatever journal, magazine, or newspaper, or other things. If you're affiliated with a university, like a student or an employee, you can authenticate and get into these databases that we're paying a few $100,000 for on an annual basis. So if you click by title, you'll see there's both a list of the ones we pay for with the lock symbol, and then others that are useful. And we'll just say between OA, open access, and down below it might be OER, open educational resources. For a number of years now, a little bit more than a decade and a half, there's a movement to make research that has been subsidized, if not paid for by tax dollars, more freely available, so that we're not just producing it and then purchasing it back, and we're also the ones that review it and edit it, not just author it, meaning professors and researchers at institutions. So the green unlock are other databases where the quality is pretty much just as good. I just want you to be aware that there's a difference. And so these databases here, EBSCO, McGraw-Hill, and ProQuest, the big companies, we're paying to have access, and you'd need to be a current student to get into them. And so there's that long list there of nearly 200 databases. I would suggest going into databases by subject. And then here, we pretty much cover things. It isn't, well, if you don't see what you're looking for, think, well, what else might they have called it? And it should be there, like health and medicine. It's not under medicine, for example. Or not under nursing like it might be at Purdue Fort Wayne. Well, there is one for nursing, actually. We have that new program with St. Francis. So business. So instead of getting 200 databases, we're saying, well, this class is on business. Sorry. And so let's simplify things. And my recommendation to you is Business Source Complete, which is the top database When you go in by subject, click business, business source complete from EBSCO, and there's 3 reasons it's a great resource. And so there's a bit of a description here, and for the most part, databases have journals, but one like this is going to have more than just journal articles, even though that's something that will be of interest for this assignment. So if you were at home, you have to authenticate. It's the same as your username and password to get into your email. And I think I can only make it so big before I lose some things, so we'll see. Look around the screen. There's different interfaces. Even within EBSCO, this one's a bit different. And keep in mind, we're searching Business Source Complete specifically. We're not searching all the EBSCO databases combined, which sometimes you'll hear us talk about, or maybe one of your peers would recommend that you get into adding all the EBSCO databases by clicking that link there. We want the interface that comes with Business Source Complete. And so there's 3 main things. Company information that we're going to look at. The default search when you first get into it is going to, by and large, find you journal articles, magazines. Like trade magazines are popular in business and other areas. They're not scholarly articles in the sense that they did research and they're writing up their findings, but it's very good information for practitioners, people in the field. And so a combination of trade magazines, newspapers, other magazines, and those scholarly journals, if we did a search here, which we will do shortly. And company information is what we're going to start with. And then third, we're going to click more and look at company profiles. So we already see, or at least I'm suggesting that we will see, there's a difference when you have you follow the link for company information versus company profile. And we'll see that. So let's just go with a nice simple example, Xerox. Well, I want to click company information. So it changes the interface. The default there in my drop-down menu is company name. And I guess I gotta type it again. You're gonna wanna know something about the company or be able to recognize them, because you're gonna get a long list that the default is by revenue. And at least I'm a bit surprised that the biggest revenue, more than double, is their location in Ontario, Canada. And then we say, okay, this one here, number 2, is probably the one we want for USA. And you can see there's other countries and other locations in the USA. But let me just click the second one for demonstration purposes. We'll pretend this is the one we want. And maybe we knew that there's various ways to go about searching things. I do recommend at least looking at Wikipedia for some clues. You may not be able to cite it, but you may find out that they're headquartered in Norwalk, and that is what leads you to say, this that long list, this is the one I want. So here are the things that we get from company information. The physical address more or less helps you pinpoint things, but that's worth talking about, especially when you're getting into culture and other things, or if you want to work for them. Are you talking of going to their headquarters or working for one of their other locations where there could be differences? And most likely would be, it's a big country, just the USA. The website, which can be useful, the line of business. These keywords can help us search for things. A little bit on financials, and then the executives that work there. Sometimes there's more information like CIO and other people. Sometimes there's information about board members, the board of trustees. And so when I click industry, I get basically NAICS codes, and then I think SIC are still around, but they're phasing out, correct? At some point?
Yep, that's what I hear.
You might still find, depends on what you're looking for. They're there for a purpose. They're not hot linked at this point. And there always have been some differences. There was a reason why they came up with this other standardization here. But this stuff can be useful. So I would always make a note of that, or be aware of coming back into that. And then what do you get with more? A few things. Now that's interesting. I'd have to look into that when they're saying year founded 2019. So maybe they moved their headquarters. I don't know.
Or sometimes they go bankrupt and then reorganize.
That's true too. And so yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions that will be individual for each of you, depending on the company you chose. The other thing I suggest, and we're leaving EBSCO temporarily, is the website can be a wonderful resource. And so whether you get to it from Wikipedia, which tends to know who the official website is, and tell you maybe who the parent company is, subsidiaries, headquarters, other locations, a lot of useful information. Keep in mind though, the company is the one providing this information, so if they say they're great, well, they're biased, but there are times where that's the only place you're going to find certain types of information. So I would certainly explore their whole website. This happens to be a pretty good one. You might scroll down, look at there's different levels of tabs that open up different things. And you can see, okay, discover, this or that. And then technology demos, careers. I would certainly explore that, and going all the way down, there's different types of information. A company like Xerox, they want to entice you into thinking favorably of them and considering them not just for a job, but for a career. So you're going to find some useful information for an assignment like this, or maybe they're talking about, is there a commitment to local, regional, national interests? Stuff about social, economic, environmental interests. Sustainability has tended to be a topic that they're going to address in most cases. They're going to try to demonstrate to you that they are ideal to work for. And, not just their products and services, what's their culture like. So this is one of the places you're going to find some of that stuff. And it will vary from company to company, how they design their website, how much information they share. But I'd say for many of you, exploring all different ways of their website is certainly something I would do. And I think in this case, we want to click United States here, or continue in United States because they're international. And then we see different things. So be aware of that. And then these are different links here. If you did want to know a little something, maybe make a few comments about the parent company, things like that. Now, if I go over to more and click company profiles, I'm actually going to get SWOT analyses and reports from these companies like MedTrack and MarketLine. So I, again, type in what I'm looking for. And sometimes it is useful to switch it to match any words.
Do you guys know what SWOT analysis is?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Okay. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then there's a more current take, which is appreciative inquiry that you can get into at some point. But SWOT analyses are still very popular, and it's an acronym you're going to find out there. The other thing that is useful with Wikipedia, it is sometimes very important to know, is it Xerox Incorporated, Xerox LLC, or some other term? And there's a popular term we use when we're talking about it, but maybe the official name of the company is something a little longer. That can be really important to searching. And I've seen databases where you have to do comma Inc. Sometimes you have the period on Inc. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes there is no comma. There's quirks like that, which lead to that frustrating stuff I was talking about. Generally, I would keep it as simple as possible. And you see I typed it wrong. So if you're getting 0 results, that's one of the first things I look at is, did I add a letter or juxtapose letters? And so Xerox Business Solutions, Xerox Corporation, examples of what I was just talking about. Looking at some of these, you're going to find some really good information in these various reports. And this particular one is 14 pages. A lot of them are going to be about double that. You don't have to read the whole thing. You can do an edit, find, and use parts of it. If you have questions about citing this, EBSCO is usually pretty good. There's the Writing Center on the second floor of the library if you're not familiar with it. So certainly explore these things here. There's your history that you're being asked to find stuff about. Major products and services. Maybe you want to say a thing or two about competitors, and that leads to a discussion about mergers and acquisitions. Who knows? You're going to want to, pick the things that make for a strong argument, which is actually kind of difficult when you only have 2 or 3 pages. So you're going to be gathering more information that ends up in your final paper, but that's what you want. So going back, And be aware, you're going to want to go all the way back to the beginning of this EBSCO database, Business Source Complete. And there's different ways you could get in there. I'm just going all the way back by hitting the button. So that you see the 3 search boxes. The default, when you enter a search here, is going to be those magazine and journal articles. So let's look at what happens if I just type in Xerox here. 7,000. And here's what we're looking at. Okay, you see how it says PDF for 3, 4? There's a SWOT analysis. We'll look at that shortly. And 1. Now we'll just pretend that number 2 does not have the full text. PDF, HTML, different versions. Usually you're going to find PDF or want to go with that. It has nicer versions of charts and diagrams and pictures that may or may not be in the other version. The reason you don't always find it, like with number 2, is this database, in this facet, this database does 2 main things. They describe articles, and it's nice. You can say, wow, I'm happy to learn that this article exists. And then they pay for the rights, the copyrights, to give us the full article to a certain percentage. Because the more they pay for, the more expensive their product is, and there's different levels. You might find we have more full text than Purdue Fort Wayne for the same EBSCO database, or vice versa. And so there's different levels of a database that we feel we need, and we're trying to meet all the different needs of all the different students in different fields of study. If you don't get the full text, we can request it via interlibrary loan, and we'll get to that towards the end. But here's what I would suggest for an assignment like this. Why not say, just give me results where my company appears in the title of the article. Now, I might lose some good articles, but if my word is not, my company is not in the title of the article, there's a better chance I don't want that article. So let's apply what we're calling a search strategy to let the search engine simplify our process of going through results. And so now let's just say it's about a third, and you can go through these. You could also say, well, what's the number if I'm talking more recent? Let's say we're going back to 2018 instead of 1951, and 300. Now at this point, compared to other assignments, with maybe the exception of the word history, I wouldn't add in anything more. I would just go through the results. I would read through the assignment sheet to where I know what I am being asked to find. And as I come across things, I just check those boxes. Does this look good enough? Is one source for this particular thing good enough? Maybe I want a second or a third. Or do I need another opinion that is different on this particular aspect of my company? And you'll see in these things, there's a title at the top in bold. Your source is going to be your journal or magazine, and sometimes that's obvious, sometimes it's not. This seems to be a report, probably comes out quarterly, maybe. Volume and issue number. It could be a scholarly journal. We can get into that if you need to. The subject terms, that can be useful, and then the abstract kind of summarizes, do I want to look at this article, which I always look at it, is it a third of a page or 3 pages? Is it 10 pages or 35 pages? Which can influence whether I want it or not. With the longer things, I'll say again, you don't have to use the whole thing, but maybe there's something really good on page 8 of the 35-page item. And what I would do, as I'm going through these, and let me make it a little smaller. No, I'm not getting that, am I? Let me try it again. That is interesting. Okay. On the right, there's words associated with these icons, which are not coming up, and we won't worry about why. You can save things to a folder. You can export them in various ways. I generally recommend, as you're going through your sources and it looks good, it's either a yes or a maybe, click email it to yourself. You're going to get what's called a permalink. There's different ways you can get that, but the email option is your best one. It sends you a URL. You click that website link, and you might have to authenticate. It depends what you've been doing and where you're at. And it basically brings up exactly what you see here. And if there's a PDF, the PDF is linked also. And either while you're going through your search results or when you're clicking those links from the emails that you sent yourself, I'm gonna have to look at this. One of these is Cite. So let me see here. I never bothered to learn, yeah, there we go, it's that one, okay. I just looked for the word. And I don't think they have IEEE. Let me double check. Because it's real, a lot of engineers actually use APA. IEEE is used, especially more with computer science. But at least this gives you the information. You could decide maybe you know which one's closest. And while we're on that topic, going back to the library's website. So the main page, there's a link for citation resources. Actually, it leads to one of the online guides. And you can click that tab there. At the very bottom is another place to learn more about IEEE. There's a nice little video. And we actually have the whole citation manual link there. And then we take it to OWL Purdue. So if you're not familiar with Purdue's OWL, probably 20 years ago, Purdue University more or less became the de facto place for citation assistance. And they wanted it, they said to all the other universities, why reinvent the wheel several hundred times? If you want to link your students to us, one, we get brand recognition, and then two, you don't have to spend your human resources and financial resources to basically do the same thing. And so this is the trusted source on how to cite this or that, a website, an encyclopedia, you name whatever you need to cite, it should be somewhere in Purdue. I actually haven't tried it in a while, but I usually Google what I need to find, like IEEE, journal article, Purdue OWL, and it takes me to the section versus searching within Purdue OWL. I use Google.
It's so good now. You just can type in OWL. You don't even have to type in Purdue, and it'll get you there. Yeah.
So there's that. We try to have something on citations, and that was from the main page. So going back, let me see where we're at here. We'll just close that one out, and we'll close this out. If you're getting a whole bunch of sources, you could play around, and so if I were going to type in history, it's going to limit my results, and I'll make it bigger again, which is currently 304. If I'm saying you have to match a second keyword, that's what the and does. I have to have Xerox and the keyword history in the results. The number is going to go down because it has to match something. It's an additional restriction to have a second keyword. And so since I only got 2, I would click my drop-down menu, take off the restriction of finding Xerox in the article's title. 13, and here's where I would, after I've done company information and clicking more for company profile, when I'm looking for articles, that's when I would say, you know what, I need all the EBSCO databases because I want more than 13 articles that have what should be a popular topic. I click choose databases. We'll just click select all. Usually there's a long list here. That's interesting. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, but let's just see what happens. So now I'm searching more databases than just the one. 163. So the reason I sort of paused, in most cases you're actually adding in like 40 or 50 databases. EBSCO has changed things. They're really just giving you, I don't know, the 5 business-focused databases, which is fine, if it meets your needs. If you need more than this, just talk to us. So we're going over a lot of information in a relatively short time frame. So what I would say to you, you might explore what's available in Business Source Complete in choosing your company. Because if you choose a company that's not in there, you're going to have to do a lot more digging, and we can help you with that. You can probably stay with that company or organization, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more work for a 2 or 3 page assignment. So maybe find a similar company for the purpose of this assignment. That would be my suggestion. if you choose a company that's really, really hard to get at, sometimes we find ourselves asking someone that works there, like in human resources, for an informational interview. It depends on your assignment. Maybe you're looking for an internship, and that is what we would suggest, and we can assist with that if your professors don't know someone or you're not just going to do it cold. For something like this, I would tend to take the easier path, because you're learning how to search a very good business database. You're learning about a company or organization, and you're not making things harder by choosing something that is just not there. There can be exceptions, and trust me, whatever you choose, we can help you. Contacting us. So hopefully you see that the partnership that we offer. You're going to be the subject expert in business and the company organization you choose. You're going to know what you want, and then when it comes to certain things, we can save you time with finding the information. And so if the chat comes up, that's usually during hours that the library is open. There's a live librarian there. You can share your screen, we can share our screen. We could show you how to search any one of these databases, which is kind of nice. Or any other question. That was the other thing. Okay. So if you click services, you're going to see various ways to contact us if chat doesn't pop up, or maybe you'd rather email us. You can also just walk in without an appointment, and we can take a break from whatever we're doing and help you. I wanted to go over this. Let me go down here. So if I click books and ebooks, we have, 300,000 ebooks. There are going to be times, especially for history and culture, where maybe that's what you want. And I would tend to go with advanced search, but we're just going to see what happens here. So I type in my Xerox. I know I'm looking at books and ebooks, and there are some print books, but most of them are going to be ebooks. So the first thing here, technology forces at work, 4 companies, including Xerox, but then, it's 1999. So I'm just going to minimize this, because this is basically offering stuff we don't want. So I go down, and 1, I can just click ebook, and then 2, I can say, let's just say last 10 years. You'll find it somewhere there, last 5 years. Get rid of stuff that maybe is just too dated for me, sorry. And maybe somewhere here, I find something useful. Some of this is on the history of the technology, because Xerox and IBM were 2 of the early companies. Maybe something more like a biography of sorts. And again, maybe you just use a few pages. And so ebooks is another great resource here. And there's usually an orange link. So if I click on one of them, and there's 2 main platforms it would take you to. Somewhere there's a link to view the ebook. There's usually a description. Contents is usually chapter titles, a summary or a description of the book. So for some of you, you're going to find what you need in ebooks if you're not finding it in the journals and magazines, and that's especially true when it comes to history. That tends to be written about more in book form. Okay. So can I answer any questions? And we have some people online?
We have 1.
So if you're online and you put something in the chat, I'll see it. And then otherwise, did I hit the right thing?
Yeah, you're right.
Otherwise, you're welcome to contact us anytime. You may not need to, but if you do, like I've said, we can save you some time.
What about, is there anything for local companies or small companies that you recommend them doing?
Pretty much Google, the public library, certainly. There are going to be, when it comes to local, like for instance, we don't get the local newspaper because it's a little bit expensive and it doesn't seem to be warranted based on the number of professors that would use it or students that would read it. We get the Wall Street Journal. In fact, we get quite a few through the databases, but we get the Wall Street Journal daily delivered. And what I'm getting to is, since we don't have the local newspaper, and that's where you would find articles about local companies and organizations, you're going to want to visit your public library. Now, if you have a card, they have all kinds of databases that you can get into with a card from the public library, databases that we don't have. The other thing is there are like business to business weeklies, other local publications that maybe they have a way of searching. We don't. Maybe the website does. So you're certainly going to be using Google more than databases. That compared to other students who chose a big national or international company. So we can help you with that, and you can probably keep a local company, and then maybe you're adding in more stuff about the industry, which is not necessarily specific to that company, but it would apply. Meaning they don't mention the company, but it applies to what they do, whatever it may be.
And I suppose local companies that are publicly traded would be available in the Wall Street Journal, or there might be something about them.
Correct. Yeah. So there should be something out there. Yeah. They have to file certain reports with the government, unless they're private, and those can be limited. So yeah, if you really want to go with a smaller or a local company, and local to me, I'm saying like Indiana or maybe nearby Ohio, Michigan, or Chicago. Chicago's probably a little easier. We can help you with that. We won't get into it all now, and sometimes we need to find out ourselves. But yeah, there's digging to do. So choose something that interests you. I always say it makes it more interesting. I think we're good.
Do you guys have any questions about, like, at the beginning, when your brain was still a little foggy and he said something and now you're like, where was that, or how do I get to that? Anything that you want to refresh your memories on?
Yes, sir.
Company search.
Okay. So you want to, for anything, most things that I was talking about, you want to go in through the library's page so it prompts you to authenticate, which is important to point out. You're familiar with the one-click apps? Don't go in that way. Come in through this library page and click databases, the first or second one. So databases by subject, business source complete at the top from EBSCO. And then the one link is company information, the other one under more is company profile. So they're both at the top, the one they just hide for whatever reason. And keep in mind that changes the interface. And so if you then want to, you're always going to have the other one at the top, both those on that toolbar. But then this is what you want to search for the articles. So there's three things here. There's company profiles, company info, and searching for articles. Okay. I think we're good.
Okay.